Hey guys, Dr. Coward. Today I want to talk to you about planning your future. It's okay for you to dream as big as you want to and explore the world, explore all the different ideals. It's okay for you to imagine yourself a new life. It's okay for you to imagine a new way of thinking and being and growing. Oftentimes we don't take the time to imagine where we want to be in life. Take some time today and imagine yourself a new life. I'm responsible for taking care of me. And I'm glad that you are saying that. You should be taking care of yourself. And when you get that understanding and that knowledge, you're going to take off. When you understand that you get to eat based on your work, that you get to live where you want to live, that you get to go where you want to go, you get to be the person you want to be, it's your responsibility to decide how your life looks. It's your responsibility to decide how you live, where you live, what you eat. You decide all these things. But when you get out of the thinking that your life is the way that it is because you have to stay in these boundaries or else you won't have this particular benefit or that particular benefit, you only limit yourself. You limit yourself into thinking that if I do this, then I'm not gonna have that. And I remember the time in my life when I made a decision that I was not gonna use food stamps to feed myself and feed my children anymore. I was a single parent with 4 boys, living in a shelter, having all of the same trials and tribulations as all the other young women. And I remember going to the register and I pulled out my food stamp card and the lady behind the register laughed because I had so many. I had like $1,000 worth of food stamps, and that's because I never spent my food stamps like everybody else. I always spent it like it was money. So I never went to the store and overspent. I just bought what I needed. So about 3 months in, I had about $1,000 on the card. And my kids were little, so they weren't eating that much food. And I remember this lady laughing. And then she called another teller over, and the other teller said, "Look how many food stamps she has on here." And I was so embarrassed behind it. And I remember standing there in that line at that moment, and I said, I'm going to be able to feed my children off my own dollar. And it took me a while to be able to get there when I could actually afford to feed my children off of my own dollar. But I made a decision right there in that line that I was going to feed my children off the sweat of my back. And nobody was going to determine how I fed my children. And then I could only make so much money. And then it was all these boundaries. If you did this and you couldn't have this. And I felt so tired, and I felt as though if I make this much money, then I won't have the insurance for them, and then I won't have the food. And I wasn't making enough money to be able to provide for them, but I wasn't making enough money to be able to survive on my own. So I was in this place where I was between a rock and a hard place. So I had to allow myself to know that this was my responsibility to live and to take care of my children. So I had to begin to just take the blows as I started working harder to get the things that I needed to get. So I started working 3 jobs instead of 2 jobs. But I made a decision that my life was how I wanted it to be, and I wasn't going to live inside of what they told me that I needed to live in. Now, that meant that I had to make a lot of sacrifices, and that part is true. I had to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to make the decisions for my life. In other words, they say it costs to be the boss. I had to pay a cost to be the boss. I had to work night shift and 3 jobs. I worked night shift overnight, and then I would go and run around and see patients. Then I would work a day shift job, and then I would run around and see patients, and then I would be home before 4:30, and then I would get up and go to work my night shift job. It cost to be the boss, but I knew that it was my responsibility to decide how my life was going to be for me and my children. I get to decide. Nobody gets to decide what my life looks like. Just let me do what I need to do so that I can take care of myself. Get in a place where you start working and moving and correcting your mistakes right now. Get in a place where you start working on yourself right now. Always know that the time to start working and changing is right now. The time for me to take responsibility for myself is right now. The time for me to do for myself is right now. I hope this message has helped you to retool your life today. We'll see you next time.